And they're just talking about how everything right now from a design perspective, cultural design perspective right now is a lot of monochromatic and let me see the word, monochromatic and neutrals, right? So they were saying the Variety Grammy issue just had a real color statement, which I think it's a cool color statement and cool type statement.
Yeah, I like that type.
Isn't that cool? Look at this, watch, right there.
That's really neat.
Yeah, that's cool. Really bold color choices, right?
Yeah,
I mean, look at
it's
this
cool.
green. And I love this where they put inside this the the typeface this little pop of color in there. I don't know who this girl is, but they apparently like her a lot. Now, and then the other thing to look at this is just the type design, right?
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that type designer in Abstract last week, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. On Netflix?
Yeah. Have you watched that yet?
I did.
He's amazing, right?
He's crazy.
Yeah. But man, I love seeing a career like that. You know what I mean? Like that guy's probably made some serious money. He's still making serious money. I mean, just licensing that stuff to Apple, and then Apple's going to always come to him and those kind of companies because designing stuff on for like UI, UX, all that kind of stuff, mobile devices, all that kind of stuff, type is really important. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if there was a part in there that I hadn't even thought about, even though you see it all the time, kind of, it used to be when you like this, if you do something in print, it's sort of like boom, it's locked in stone and that's it. Right now, people can zoom in on it and then they turn it this way and it has to reformat and it still has to keep working. And then there was little things he was doing with a type in there somewhere where it's like when it turns this way, I kind of slightly push the verticality of it a little. I mean, it's like crazy levels of micro design. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when he was showing us the differences of like the slants of like the N or the M's and the S's, I was like, what is this?
Yeah. What's good, I learned that the reason and what I love about that is that expresses what I've talked about for years. I had a class with Leah Hoffman, who was another type freak. And it's really weird. I just heard some concept designer, really well-known concept designer, talking about he couldn't remember anybody's names, but he went to art center and he goes, I had this one of the classes that really had an impact on me was his type class I had with this really serious type person. And I'm like, that was Leah, because he was describing her. And I go, that's totally Leah. He couldn't remember her name. And he was describing the same project. And because we used to do it on his illustration board with Plaka paint, it had to be print ready, camera ready. And he was describing, he goes, yeah, we had to do it black and white Plaka paint and all this. And he goes, he said the same thing. He goes, that taught me so much about design from a balance versus negative space perspective. And just from and that thing of like that, when Leah would go over my E or something and she'd kind of bulb up and I would think it looked pretty good. And she'd kind of swell up maybe part of the line or something. And you go, why do you do that? And she goes, because now look at it. It looks even next to those other ones, even though it's actually a little bit thicker. Right.
Yeah, it's like the small things make the hugest difference.
Yeah. And what you have to understand though is that through this is what I'm trying to get to when I'm telling everybody to look at other things outside the discipline is whatever your design discipline is when you're looking at something like that same kind of thing, it can kind of change your perspective a little bit. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes you're doing something, and you might just take it in Photoshop and line them up. And you go, yeah, they're the same height. How come they look weird? It's those visual things. Like, now you need to raise that up a little bit. And it's things that your brain would normally go, don't do that. That's wrong. Well, it is right. It's a visual thing. It's a
Yeah.
perception thing, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
can apply to painting. That can apply to whatever, design, graphic, especially graphic design.
Yeah.
And illustration, balance. You know what I mean? Everything's got to be balanced. If it's not balanced, it just doesn't work. Okay, enough of that. But anyway, go watch all of them, by the way. They're all good.
Yeah.
Go watch the one on that shoe designer, that Tink, whatever his name is. That's a
Okay.
great one.
Yeah, it was an interesting thing. I've been watching Zac Efron's traveling one too, where he talks about like saving the earth and stuff like that. It
Oh,
was really
I
cool.
heard about that. You know which one I want to watch? It just started. Is Stanley Tucci has a food show that he's doing in Italy,
Ooh,
and I like Stanley Tucci anyway.
I like food, so it's right up my alley
Yeah, but
too.
he's got a very sort of bon vivant, sort of sophisticated kind of vibe.
He's too bougie.
No, he's cool. I like seeing people that are actually sophisticated and have a sophisticated, elevated view of things, you know, because we have so much of the opposite. I mean, you're swimming in the opposite all the time. You know what I mean?
That's true.
If I go talk to, you know, if I go to a dinner party, who am I going to talk to? You know, nobody wants to talk about art and opera and this and that. They're just like, what are you talking about? Like nobody that wants to talk about that unless you're around a bunch of other artists or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very true.
Especially if you're a guy, man. They're just like, ballet. Like you go, hey man, the blah 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 ballet is coming to LA, and they're like, what are you talking about? We're talking about Harley Davidsons, dude. We don't talk about this.
Uncultured couth.
Uncultured swine, as Mr. Potato Head would say.
He knows best.
I always say that to Todd all the time. Okay, who's this? This is Alexander. Where you at?
I'm right here.
I'll go through these pretty quick. What do you think?
I think it came out good.
Yeah. It's a fun process, right? I think.
Yeah.
Okay, any questions?
No, not really.
Okay, good. Let me see. I'll just pop them up here. Who's this? Christopher.
Sounds fine.
What do you think?
Yeah, I had a
That looks
good
great,
time.
man.
Thank you.
Ah, that makes me excited. You guys are getting something going. Yeah, good one. Where you at? Where's Chris?
Oh, hello. Sorry, I was muted.
What did you do in the background? Is that like a brush?
No, it was like on the page itself.
Oh wow, it's a trip. It looks like a brush. Did you have any problems?
Not really. I had really much. I had a lot of fun on the skin. On
Yeah,
her.
I can tell. Really good, man. You know what you should look at if you haven't already? What's your major?
Studio arts, but I don't know yet. I think I might like, I don't know, like do animation or something.
Look at here.
I'm just undecided, really.
That's all right. This is the place to be undecided. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because here's where you can explore a little bit and you're not breaking the bank doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have a good program where you're where you can do that in a way that I think is meaningful.
Mm-hmm. Well, I feel like I really like character design, but like I don't know, like
I've had people who came. I actually had an intern, and then I hired her as a designer. But she came in from UCI, and UCI, yeah, University of Irvine. UCI doesn't have a great, from what I can tell, great art program. Okay, it's very conceptual. So when they come out, she didn't know how to draw. She didn't know how to really paint. She knew, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, then at some point she kind of shifted and goes, I want to get into graphic design. I think she might have went to Fullerton for a little bit just to supplement her knowledge or whatever. And then she got an internship with me, and then I taught her how to draw and all that kind of stuff. But one thing I've noticed about people come out of fine art, which is kind of interesting, if they put their skills together, the one thing I do like about them is they're not thinking in a formulaic way. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So they're not going, oh, the grid, you know, I put everything on the grid like graphic designers are. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. I'm not saying that, you know, and then, you know, oh, I'm going to do all this, you know, just the stuff that just looks like you see in every single portfolio. They tend to think a little differently because they just weren't trained that way. They were trained a different way. So it gives them a little bit of a different point of view. And she turned out she was a really good graphic designer and really soaked it up. which is why I wanted to hire her as an intern, because then I could mentor her, right? The only thing I liked doing at that company was mentoring. Other than that, I didn't like that company. And taught her how to draw and all that stuff. So, you know, and now she's on the Barbie team over at Mattel.
Wow.
But hang on. Sorry. You might want to look at this person for this kind of thing. Okay, what happened? There it is. Let's see, like this kind of thing. Of course, they're always drawing these things, which is kind of annoying. I just want the still. See this one right here, like here?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I follow those kind of like illustrators on Instagram too.
Yeah, this girl, I think she has a lot of, I think she's a lot of stuff for a lot of, like here, you know. But she does a style like this, is very kind of similar to what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I really like those.
I'll put her up in the on canvas. So have you had life drawing and stuff?
No, I just kind of like picked it up like because I already do like art by myself, so I just kind of self-taught.
Get some life drawing in there, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah, I've been trying to. I might take a class or on that next semester.
Yeah, I'd probably take gym, I would think.
Mhm.
I could look into who's teaching as an adjunct, but I'd say gym is probably the most solid, just informationally. Okay, who's this? This is Cindy. Where you at? You here?
Yeah, sorry, I was muted too.
This looks great.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, I had a lot of fun coloring it.
Good. Now get the drawing. And the other thing, what we're going to talk about today, it's really nice because you could do an ink thing like this, or you could just take a pencil drawing out of your sketchbook and then do what we're going to do today. Because I like doing that. I like things generating things all the time. Give me things to play with. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. Who's this? Taylor.
That would be me.
What do you think?
I had fun with it. I do need to work on figuring out lighting a little bit more. It took me a little bit longer to work on where the fire would be bouncing
Sure.
off of him.
Sure. And don't be afraid to look at reference for that either. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, you don't always go to the, like if I'm looking for lighting for like you know, like you're talking about fire or whatever, I probably am not going to go to anything that's been done. I'm probably going to go find firemen, you know, at a fire and see how the light reflects and you know,
a real life situation.
Yeah, you always want to go to the headwaters. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Another little thing you can do with these kind of things, another little trick, because sometimes you'll get sort of a, if I can find my pen tool, there it is. Sometimes you'll get a sort of hard and soft edged light on here. What's this? Yeah. Here, let me get this. And I'm going to do this really sloppily, but and let's just take maybe a brighter. And you could kind of do the color to nothing thing. So if there was one side where it's getting a little harder edged and then it'll fade off. See what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes I'll still come in here and go, maybe with the blur tool, maybe just soften that a hair. So you just get that nice, it happens a lot on like glasses and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Something really reflective.
Yeah, like hard surfaced reflective. Like sunglasses, you know, sometimes I'll put a a shape in the top of the glass over everything else, and then I'll pull like a little blue thing like that down, like it's catching it from the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Ugh, it's Irene. Where you at?
Why? Why the sigh?
I don't know. What do you think?
It's okay. It's a little dark for my taste, but
Yeah, I would just give it some contrast, but what I do like is I like the shifts of things in here. And it
Mhm.
looks like a lot of you did that, like this here. That's interesting. Oh, it goes from this purpley thing to this, and it feels pretty good. Does that make sense?
yeah.
Yeah, just values. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
good family values.
I don't know. I gotta find that.
But you didn't have any problems or anything?
No, it's fairly
Another
fun.
thing here, we did it in the other one, but let's see. Because I might push that back a little bit. No, that's just up to you. But I don't want it competing with everything.
Like you tone down the brightness of it.
I'll do a couple things. I'm just going to do it like this. I also might go give this a little bit of, do a layer mask.
Yeah, that's cool. Like a nice gradient.
You know, and it pushes it back, and it also gives it a little more interest, so it's not just a flat thing, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Then I might go. What did I just do? Oh, that was crazy. Hang on. Oh. Why is this not giving me my? Oh, there it is. It throws the window on the other screen. It always throws me off. Okay. Yeah, it's not letting me do it. So let's do this. I might come in here and grab maybe some of this. Because I'm grabbing a lot of times from what I already have here. So I know everything's going to harmonize. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oops, I don't want to save it. Then again, come up here, see if I can find a nice overlay. Maybe even just that. So now it's just got a little tint of color in there. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It also kind of throws it back a little bit atmospherically.
Yeah, it feels better.
And I might even go, further. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to make that the star. That's my point. So I might even go up here, knock it back even more like that. That's better. Right?
Mm-hmm.
The nice thing is once you have a good solid drawing, that's holding so much of it together.
Yeah.
And that's kind of my point. It really gives me a chance to play. Again, like we were just talking about the sketchbook thing, one of the things I do, like after I finish some little painting or something in there, then I might take it and start playing with it with type and go, yeah, I'll make a poster out of it or something just for fun. Where's Isaac? You here? Where's Jen?
I'm right here.
That looks cool, man. Yeah?
Thank you. I wish I had done more to it. I actually was putting like a planet behind it and whatnot, but my computer was like lagging. I don't know what it was, if I have too much like storage on it, but
Mine did that the other night.
yeah, so I just ended up just taking it out completely. Yeah, I mean, I think I still need to like practice on lighting as well, but
Everybody
for the
does.
most part, I think, yeah, for the most part, I think it turned out okay.
I think it looks pretty good. I think it looks really good.
Thank you.
And I like the way it sort of goes from that really hot red into sort of a purpley cool, but it's still a little warm, but it's cools off. That
Yeah.
makes sense?
Yes.
Yeah, and keep going in and playing with it.
Sounds good. Thank you.
I mean, you learn by doing, you don't learn by, I mean, sure, you know, you get information, everything, but if you don't put that into practice, nothing happens. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, nothing happens. That's
Agreed.
why I'm really anti-lecture class. Because it's like, okay, you can sit here and talk about dancing all you want. It ain't gonna make me a good dancer. You know what I mean? Actually, nothing's gonna make me a good dancer, but okay, who's this? This looks great. Jessica. Where's Jessica? Am I missing something? I don't think she's here. Okay. I think that looks really good. Who's this?
That's me.
What do you think?
I definitely wanted to add some stuff in the background. I like how it came out. It was a really fun project. I wanted to get your, what do you think about the, can you look at the watch? I was going for bronze and leather.
Hang on, let me open it. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. I think, okay, so one thing, and I think you kind of got that. One thing that you're getting that's smart about the leather is that it has varying temperatures and shapes. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
And a lot of times what people do is they just make it brown. It's like, it's not just brown. Look how much cool that's getting right there, right?
Yeah.
And depending on the light, you know, it's always throwing in, because I'm getting a really strong, two ways I'm getting strong light. There's blue sky out there. There's actually not that much snow anymore, but when there's a lot of snow out there, that blue really bounces into this room, right?
Okay.
It's really interesting. If you take a picture of something in here, like if I was taking a picture of a drawing in here, it'll go screaming blue sometimes because of the sky out there, and then the snow bouncing the blue in here. And it's, you know, and then you look at it and you go, why is it so blue? It's like, it's because of that. But the main trick is exactly kind of what you're doing here, where you're varying these shapes, going a little cooler, a little warmer, a little more ochre, a little more coppery, you know, that kind of thing, right?
Right.
That's what you want to do. So yeah. Now I'd add a little reflected light up into his hair. Like if you look at this, see all that bounce light in the hair?
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. I'd probably just do something like that where I get either, because see how it's, okay, so this hair right here, if you look at this and you look at this and you look at this and you look at this, how is he lighting that? Like what's the basic fundamental thing that you learn in basic drawing? Does anybody know?
Not really.
Those are cylinders. These are parts of a cylinder. This is rolling over. You're just not seeing the whole cylinder, right? This is rolling over just like a cylinder. This is rolling. If I keep this continuous line going, that's a cylinder. So he's lighting this. If you notice, you can look it up online, how to, you know, lighting a cylinder, basic drawing, and you'll see it's lit just like this. Okay. That's the reason you do those kind of exercises, right? So then you can bring it into like Photoshop or whatever, your drawings, your paintings, whatever. Does that make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
This is acrylic paint, by the way. These things are huge. He paints these things huge. So does that make sense, all that?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Good job.
Actually, I had a question about the program. Do you think you could show us how to delete like a project on your drive, I guess, the Adobe Photoshop thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, the Creative Cloud.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find it because I'm in through the school. I can't like sign into my account.
Oh, okay, sure.
Because I'm not the administrator. It's totally stupid. But I'm sure I can find it, and I'll run it through you. I'll run
Thank you.
through it with you. God.
Sounds good. Thanks.
But you can see, you could take like if you're doing cool little pin sketches, of just maybe forms and things like that, and you just add a couple little hatch lines, everything, scan it, bring it into Photoshop, just give it a quick little pass of color. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And well, I guess the next exercise is going to help me with the surroundings too.
Yeah. So what we're doing is we're moving more and more into more organic painting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because I do think that's important, especially for an architect, because you want to there's so many, again, those hard edges and everything in that type of work, so you need some relief from that with some natural things and some curves and things like that, right?
Yeah.
I think it really elevates it. I gotta go find that one I told you about.
That was just my goal. Like, that's what I wanted for the background.
Oh, okay. Was this one somebody else painted this?
This one, yeah, just that was the whole image that I found.
Yeah, what's nice here is this blue reflected light here. It's got a little down here. And then he's doing kind of up here in the hair what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's Kayla?
Hi, I'm here.
That's fun. What do you think?
Yeah, it took me a little while to finally figure out the warm and cool and how to make it look like it works. But once I did it, I was like, it looks pretty nice.
It's exciting, right?
Yeah.
Whenever I would figure things out like that, man, where all of a sudden I could do this and I kind of got it, man, I was like buzzed. You know what I mean?
Yeah, when I first started, I was like, this looks weird. And then I just kept trying and I was like, oh, it got better. So
well, that's the point. Okay. Because I still, after all these years, I go out and I'm all excited to go out painting or someplace. I go there, I paint, I come back and I go, this isn't very good. You know what I mean? You still have those days, so you can't let those things, it's just going to happen normally. You know what I mean? But in this case of what you're talking about, what a lot of students do is they go, this looks weird. I'm just going to hand it in. And you didn't, you dug down in and went, okay, how do I make this work? You know what I mean? One thing you might do, and I think it's kind of cool the way the color's sort of subtle. I always tend to go for this big screaming thing, and you could play around with this. I do like that it's subtle. I don't know if I would do this, but I might come in here and just sort of put a layer over, just if nothing else, just to play and kind of bring up some of this stuff. And it'll be good anyway, because what's your major?
Illustration.
Oh, yeah. So this is, okay, what's good about this, by the way, it's a really fun way, and I'm not saying in lieu of doing traditional work or anything, but this is a really good way to go in and really experiment with lighting, right? Because, and just that idea of lighting is fine to do in here. It's hard to achieve in paint or whatever, but it just gives you the thing to start playing around with, like, okay, my light source is here. What could bounce into here? And really start going down that rabbit hole of figuring out lighting, color, and all that kind of stuff, right? And really kind of putting into practice. And what I like about doing that digitally is it's very quick. You can eliminate that layer. It doesn't work. Try another thing, try another thing, try another thing. Whereas in paint, it's, it takes a lot longer to do it. And you're still going to get this sort of same ideas of color and lighting, right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I went through that process. I changed it a lot of times.
Yeah, that's what you should do. And then like here, I might go, I want to get a little, again, what are we talking about? What I'm about to do? We're talking about a cylinder again. What's that ankle? I mean, if that ain't a cylinder, right? So then I'm just going to try just to do it quick. Just get a little bit of a core right there and see how it starts to turn it. And then I might go screw around and just do some, and then, you know, the thing that's nice also about doing this digitally is you can just go, hey, who cares if I screw it up? It's on its own layer, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of hot spots. Blah, blah, blah. Or maybe I just do kind of some of the hot stuff all in here. So my eye goes right to all this action. So maybe all this stuff goes away. And I just selectively, see, I'm starting to push the values right here where their faces are.
Mm-hmm.
And I can get away with this. It's invented lighting. Who cares? Maybe really silhouette his face with a little bit of that fur lighting up. Spider-Man. Spider-Man. Started, hang on. So on and so forth. So then it comes down to, if you're talking about illustration, now my eye's starting to go more to that central point and then go off, right?
Yeah.
Love this, all this cools and stuff. That's really nice, man.
Once I thought of putting the blue light from the windows, it made it look a lot nicer.
Yes, and what I love about that is that now you're thinking about not just, because this is what students do. They go, oh, that warm and cool thing. It's like, where are these colors coming from? You know what I mean?
At first I just made it randomly come from somewhere. I was like, that looks really strange.
Yeah, but now you have a little bit of a thought process there where you go, oh, if I want to put some blue light, why can't I can light up the blue windows over here. Now I got an excuse, and it all starts to fit together. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Another thing I do a lot is like, I might go in here, and in here, this is a little different because you might want to just keep it all focused in one spot. I'm just kind of talking about different things. But, you know, there might be, you know, lighting in windows might, you know, it varies, right? Because there might be a light back there somewhere. Like there might be a lamp back there. Might be something closer. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And that starts to just give the window a little more complexity with hardly doing anything.
Mm-hmm.
So all that. Actually, I think that looks cool. But I just keep it really subtle. It just, what that does is give the window a little bit of depth. Okay, any other questions?
No, thank you.
Now you can do the same thing with your own drawings, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the goal. But I think taking stuff offline and just thinking about the lighting, the color, the lighting, the color, it's a good, fast way to do it. You know what I mean? Because otherwise what happens is you go, I gotta spend all this time doing this drawing, and I just want to talk about color, so I'll go use somebody else's drawing and just do it. Who's this? This is cool.
That's me.
That's cool. Yeah?
Yeah. I just felt like it was kind of missing a little bit more of a comic-y feel.
I don't care about that.
But yeah, I had fun with it, honestly.
Man, the flowers look cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks great. I like that you did this. I always like it. I always encourage everybody to, like, you know, you can do comic book stuff. I don't care, but this is, I think this is really nice.
I saw that and I was like, oh, let me get inspired, you know, with everything going on right now.
Yeah, and the thing when you're doing something like this, there's a little more thinking to do. Sometimes when you do comic book stuff, they're sort of designed to be pretty over the top, right? They're designed to have crazy lighting and all that kind of stuff. Oh, another thing. I'll talk about this in a minute. Yeah, that looks great.
Thank you. Yeah, it looked kind of like I had to add the waves to like make it blend a little bit because I was like, okay, it looks nice, but it's kind of boring. And then the waves kind of gave it a character. So
yeah, I don't think it's boring at all. I think it's cool.
Thank you.
And that would be really great in like a advertising class or something like that.
Yeah, that's my goal.
Yeah, so like if you can, you know,
like
yeah, again, as much as you can. So what are you, graphic design major?
No, I'm business administration, but I'm going for event planning.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. That's smart. Is that why you took Photoshop?
Yeah.
That's
Mainly.
smart.
Yeah.
And nothing else. Here's another reason why it's smart. I've worked with a million marketing people, and I hate probably 99.9% of them. You know why?
Why?
Because they get themselves involved in the creative process, and they're not creative, and they don't know what they're talking about.
Mhm.
And it's sort of, and I'm not territorial in general. I'm territorial though if you're stepping into my discipline and you don't know what you're talking about. That makes me mad, right? But if you work with a good marketing person, and they stop trying to be an artiste or whatever, or a designer, but they do have some knowledge of visual language and things like that, you can work with them, and it's actually fun because I actually like to collaborate.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they
I
might be
love
going, hey, I'm
collaborating.
thinking something like this, and I don't know, you go, yeah, and you're both excited about it, and then you start whipping out some designs, and and then it's fun to work with them because they're like, yeah, that's cool, instead of being somebody who's like trying to change everything to show they know something. Does that make sense?
Exactly. Yeah, it does.
Whereas if you have some knowledge, you got, then be smart about it in an event planning, because I think this is really important. In an event planning situation, you're going to be working interfacing with a lot of disciplines. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And especially if it's a wedding, because my girlfriend does weddings, she's, has a wedding property.
Mm-hmm.
You're dealing with, I couldn't do it. You're dealing with crazy emotions.
For sure.
And especially these bridezilla ones are like, it's got to be perfect. It's got to be perfect.
The flowers got to match with this.
And then they go on these Pinterest rampages, and then they come back and they're not making anything better. I mean, my girlfriend's people all know how to do this, and it's fine. You want some, personalize a few things. That's fine. But they just start coming in and doing things that don't even matter, or they start coming in and throwing a color thing in there. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it's like you hired me for a reason, so let me help.
But but she's very, and I don't know how she does it, because like 90% of the time she'll tell me something's going on. I go, just call them up, tell them to go to hell. She's like, so why? So I have no business? And I go, okay, yeah, I get it. But and by the way, I identified that about myself when I was 17. One of my first jobs was working in a Fedco, which was retail, and I worked on the floor in stationery. The stationery part was cool. And I actually tried to do a really good job, but I identified when I was 17 years old that I cannot work with the public like that. You know what I mean?
Yes. I mean,
from then on, I go, you don't have that skill. I don't have that kind of people skill. Because when people come in and start getting all over me, I'd get all over them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I mean, you're not
you
pissing
gotta
all over
balance
me.
it, you can't let people step all over you, but then you also have to.
But you got to manage them.
Yeah.
It's a really tricky thing to manage people without them knowing they're being managed.
Right. It's kind of a little bit of manipulation. Like, yeah, you got
manipulation.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, you got the steering wheel, but in reality, you got the steering wheel.
And you know what? And some of them are like, my girlfriend was telling me, she goes, I had this one bride who just was a horrible person and just hated. She's just one of those people, she had to ruin her own day, which is totally weird to me, to ruin your wedding day.
No.
And and afterwards she's like, at my girlfriend or whatever. And then at every vendor that was there, she was like, you didn't do your job right. You didn't do your job right. My answer to that is like, when you're going around saying everybody else is wrong, you're wrong.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that odds ever happen. You know what I mean? I might work with
everyone else around her is so happy, like not even noticing what she's even complaining about.
If I was getting married and my bride was having a meltdown, I'd cancel the wedding. I would. I don't care if it was a day of wedding. I don't want to marry this person.
That's funny.
And I don't want to have this as my memory of my wedding day.
Exactly. It should be all
crying and carrying on. And then you know what else she did? They were serving the food, or they have to wait till the bride and groom come out to serve the food, right? She's in her bed, or where she's getting ready.
Yeah.
And of course, she hated the way the hairstylist did her hair, of course. And then so she had torn it all up, and now her hair was a big mess, and she's crying and carrying on. And my girlfriend comes in and goes, the food's hot right now. You need to at least come out so we can serve the food. She sits in her room for another half an hour. Food gets cold. Then she bitches that the food was cold.
Wow.
It's just, people are.
Well, that was her problem for sure.
Yeah. Where's Tang at?
Yeah, right here, Professor.
Did you work behind the ink layer?
For the flames?
For all of it, behind or on top, right?
I think on top.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Okay, but your basic lighting was underneath the drawing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
Underneath, yeah.
Okay, so just work out the lighting a little more, yeah?
Yeah, for
Did
sure.
you have any
yeah.
problems?
No, not really.
Like you got a really, this would be a really strong light that you could cast here.
Yeah.
And it would cast there. So you got to think about that, because if
Yeah.
that's there, that is definitely going to reflect on him.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'd probably lighten up this planet a little bit.
Okay.
That's about it. Okay. All right, so everybody's good, yeah? Yeah,
Yes.
Yep.
I'm getting my second screen grab. Hang on. So I'm going to give you guys this drawing, which is,
Mike, Samantha had to leave. She had a family emergency.
Samantha P.
Portillo?
Okay.
Yeah.
She got her work done, but hopefully she's, well, I'll put this up. This should work out pretty good, because if we can get through this by Wednesday, because we're off next week, correct?
Yeah.
So from Monday to, I think, Monday.
Yeah, the full week.
Yeah. You'll have a little more time to work on the last one, which is the most involved one. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So cancel all your plans for vacation. And
Work only on this.
only work on this, and screw all your other classes, unless it's my class. Okay, so I'm going to give you this drawing. Now, why did I pick this drawing?
Because there's
Irene,
grays.
huh?
I said because there's grays.
Yeah, it's got a nice full range of grays, and it's really nicely balanced, right?
Yes.
And it saved me the time of having to do a drawing. So I'm lazy like everybody else. Look, what I'm going to do, I'm going to run through this kind of quick because I have a longer video on this, which is this one. Hang on.
Don't forget to actually give us the drawing, please.
Oh, how dare you?
How dare.
I felt the venom behind that. You know, this video will show you how this all works. See?
Okay.
So it's beginning to end like always. I'm glad I didn't film my painting outing yesterday because it wasn't really great. Okay. So I'm going to close this because I want to make sure I'm working on a different one. Now, what I'm going to do here, same drill. Okay, I'm going to unlock this layer. And I usually put like template drawing, something that really reminds me, whenever you're doing these things, you're creating a sandwich. You've got this drawing and you work your color up underneath it. And then like even on the comic book drawing, if I want to do embers going over something, I do a new layer over on top of that. Never, ever touch the original drawing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because if you do, now.
Hellfire.
Well, hellfire will rain down or something. I'm going to go save because I changed it to a PSD. Canyon PSD, Canyon demo PSD. And now it should change. Oh, it's over here as usual. So now it's changed to the PSD, so I'm good. Yeah?
Yeah.
I want to leave this grays in here. Now we could come in here. If it was a different type of drawing, I might, like if I just did a pencil drawing that was more line based and maybe more hatching and stuff, what I'd probably do, why is this window not coming up? Ugh, there it is. What I might do is come in here, again, if I was scanning, not a drawing with all these grays and everything in it, but more of a linear drawing, especially an ink drawing, especially that. Because the ink drawing, I want to get it to 100% black and 100% white, correct? Unless I have a range of grays in there, because where you're in an ink drawing, like those comic book drawings, the way they're making the transitions isn't by a gray, they're breaking up the form with hatching. So it starts to break it up and make it feel like it's going to a halftone or a highlight or whatever. Yeah. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So what I might do is go take this little white balance tool right there and just find the lightest part of this thing And so that'll blow it out to more, it'll blow out the whites more.
Yeah.
Now I don't want that in here because I want some of that gray quality in here, but I'm gonna pull it out this way. Then I'm gonna give it a white backer, just so I have a white overall. There it is. Nope. There it is. And then I'm gonna pull this over because I want a wider scene, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is sort of a variation on what we've already started. So let's flip this and maybe we can just make it look a little different. Maybe I'll take some of this. I'm going to try and separate out one or two things here. And I do this kind of stuff all the time. Let me see what the, just to break up things so I can get more things out of the same thing, if that makes any sense. So I'm going to flip this guy. I have to be careful here because this, I'm going to get, now I'm going to sample this color because I feel like it needs to have the same color. I'm going to sample this gray, go back to my white layer. That's a little better. And then I might take some of this. Actually, I'm going to do it with a brush. I'm just going to take some of this and go, can I come back here now, back on this layer, get a soft brush. Low opacity, knock down the opacity. I always usually knock down the opacity if you notice, because I don't want it going to 100% right away. And, you know, you guys can kind of get the point what I'm doing, correct? There. So now I'm just trying, now I might want some of this texture here. So now I'm going to use this tool. I got to get on this layer. Hang on.
Who did this drawing, Mike?
Aaron Lemonick. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm on. I was wondering why that wasn't working. Oops. I need the. That's probably fine. Just want to get some of this texture in here. So I'll concentrate on the other side, but you get what I'm doing, right? I'm just trying to break this up so I can make another side to this canyon, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, and maybe I'll take this. Oops. Because I don't want it to feel like a mirror image, so on and so forth. Yeah? So I'm going to concentrate because I'm going to want you to do that. I do it in the video. I make a bigger scene out of it. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe I'll just leave it like that for now. I would change this up more. They're obviously too close to each other. And also, I got to think about now I've changed the lighting because the lighting's coming from up here. And now I've got the lighting coming from up here. So I'd have to kind of adjust for that too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or I could leave this flip the other way and just do things to break up the shape so it doesn't look like the same thing. And I could do that as I paint over it and things like that. But I think I'm going to, I'll just mostly concentrate over here. So now I'm going to go and get, I like this reddish idea here. So I'm going to go and grab, oh, that's cool. Nothing came up. Hang on. Yeah, perfect. I'm going to go grab this. Hang on. Come on. One thing I like to do is I tell it to open the image in a new tab so I can actually see the size of it. And this is pretty big, which is nice. It's got kind of everything I need in here almost. So what I'm going to do is I put this over, and then I'm going to go, I'm also going to get one more thing. Hang on. This is a painting, but it's got some good stuff in it. I'll try this. I don't know if it'll work. So I've also got this now. Okay. Yeah? Where'd everybody go?
Yes.
And what I'm doing is I'm putting these over on, crap, it did this thing again. I hate it when it does this. Sometimes you have to formally download these things or it won't do its thing. Okay, there it is. So I'm putting these over here just so I can screen grab, or I can sample the color over here, but I like to have them out of my way. I don't like to have them in the same document. Okay, so let's go. I'm going to have to get rid of some of this. I just realized. Oops. Actually, I'm going to concentrate just on this one. I think it'll be easier. Because you'll see how I did it in the other one, so it doesn't really matter. Okay, so let's start off with this. I'm going to go just like we did the last time. Unlock this. Oop, I'm in the wrong file. There we go. We got template. That's fine. I'm going to go color underneath it. And, you know I'm probably going to do sky, so I like to keep these separate. And then I probably am going to do clouds. So I just know those are things I'm going to do. Also, I'm going to go back to my template layer and make it a multiply layer again. Then I'm going to lock it right here. And let's go sky. Let's see what we can get. I'm going to start with that. I'm going to look at this sky and see if I like this or not. Probably going to want it a little deeper, but I can change it, so that's fine. And we'll go to my gradient. Go to transparent. I'm going to put that behind Canyon. And I'm going to go and sample over here back to this one. And just, I want to sample. So I want to take this and sample some overall color. That looks okay. And then this time, I'm just going to go, I think I'm just going to go in and do this. And you see how all those values, they just get picked up. You see it?
Yeah.
Or all, yeah, the values underneath the color. Again, it's another good way to work. Like if you're doing for a concept person or whatever, illustration, whatever, it's a really good way to work when you want to work quickly and get a pretty painterly image very quickly. Now, another thing I'm going to do, and boom, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Your brackets right and left will make these bigger or smaller. Your brush, I'm going to make sure I don't have any overspray here. And then I'm going to go, this thing needs a little more headroom. So now I'm going to go into my sky layer. See if I can just stretch this. Got to hold shift to make it, you know, and I could come back in here. If I want to keep that, actually, I'm going to redo this. And I'm going to eliminate this one. Select Command A for all, and get rid of that. Go back here, and I just want to re-drag it so it fits better. That's fine. And then I could bring this texture up too, but I don't think I'm going to do that yet. Or maybe I'll even do this. I'm going to go to this layer, to my original drawing layer, and make it a copy. I'm going to unlock it. And I'm just going to take this, and maybe I'm just going to get rid of this texture here. That way I don't have to keep repeating it. Because there's going to get a lot of stuff in the sky probably that I might not need that. So there's two ways I could do it. I could create more texture over the rest of it and just use the same texture. Or I can just do it the way I'm doing it, where I'm just going to eliminate it. And then what I'm going to do, now I'm going to redo this. I'm going to go just fill the whole back with that sky color. And also I'm going to change my brush here because this one's too soft now. Get a little better. I don't want soft edges everywhere, but that's going to get eliminated. So now I'm going to go, now I got that sky thing. I got a solid color. I'm going to go back to my sky reference, wherever that went. There it is. Now I'm going to come down here. I like this pink where it goes down towards the horizon. Go back to my sky layer. Go back to my gradient tool. Start to pull that a little of that in there, right? Why do we do that? We want to make the, well, number one, sky tends to get warmer and dirtier down towards the horizon. So that's just a nice thing. And then I'm also going to go, can I sample another color in here? Go back to my sky layer. I'm going to put a layer over it and just see if this works. Oh, wrong thing. Yeah, that's kind of nice. And then I'm just going to kind of knock that in a little bit. And see how we're starting to get a nice little desert sky going? Yeah. And then I'm going to take this. Let me see if I can grab this little bit here. Or maybe not even that. I'm going to see if I can grab this little bit here. It's going to go out of frame, so I don't have to be perfect with it. At least I think it is. Because I'm looking at that left side and going, I need a little more here. Now in the video, I create a much broader view, and I think you should probably do that. I'm going to go here and just go CV. I'm going to take this. I'm going to flip it. Get it behind this a little bit. And then I'm going to lighten it up so I can see through it. See how I can see the edge now, of the other mountain? You see that?
Yeah.
So now I'm just going to eliminate this. And I've done this a lot at work and things like that, where I have the start of a drawing, then I'll take it into here. It just saves me a lot of time. Then I'm going to do another thing. Now I'm going to try this. Let's try this. I'm going to go back to my canyon image. And I like this back here. I like this blue mountain back there. So I'm going to go. And I'm improvising here, you guys, so it'll be a little different than the other video, but it's the same process. And I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to see if I can go onto that layer. Where'd it go? Here. Onto this layer. I still got a little bit here. Hang on. Oops. Wrong layer. Oh, I see what I did. Okay. I want to get rid of that. And I'm going to go see if I could just go Command U. And I picked this color here in the foreground. So if I hit this button, see how it turned it bluish? So, and then I can go to, I want to saturate it a little more. Probably not. I want to lighten it up a little bit. Yeah, probably. And also, I'm going to try this now. Let's try this. I'm going to take my orange. I'm going to try something different. I'm going to take my orange because that blue is just too big a shift for me because this doesn't look quite like it's that far. And I'm going to put a separate, this is Canyon 2. And then I'm going to put Canyon 2 color so it just has its own color. I'm going to put this underneath. I'm going to make sure that this one, Canyon 2, where did my thing go? I'm just going to put C2 color. That's better. And I'm going to take the same color we used for the other canyon. Oops, this one's got to be on multiply. And I'm going to give it, oh, something layer, hang on. Give it the same color as this other one. Keep going the wrong layer, sorry. That's why. because I'm going to go in and play around with that in a little bit. I'm not going to do it yet. Oh, no wonder. Hang on. That's good enough. Okay, so right now it's still sort of living in the same sort of color, but I'll change that in a little bit. Okay, so now let's go. Let's say our lighting is coming from up here, yeah?
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back over my reference. So what I'm trying to develop here, because there's a drawing here already, it's a full range of values, but from a lighting perspective, we've got a dark here, you know, we got our midtones and not really, you know, our lights, I guess, there, right? So I want to come in here and find a nice brighter, that's probably too bright. So I'm probably, let's try that. I'm gonna put another layer on. I'm gonna put it on, yeah, I'll just do it on this layer. I think it's fine. And just go, is that bright enough? Something going on with my brush, hang on. Let me see something. Okay, so I think that's just not bright enough. So let's go brighter. Actually, I'm gonna go right over this layer and create a new one. I don't like that, hang on. For some reason, my brush is not doing what I'm asking it to. I'm gonna close this for a second and see if I can figure out what's going on with this file. Because it should be letting me go as bright as I want. It's weird. Okay, I'm just going to do it on a layer over. There's something weird going on with my thing. Hang on. Flows 80. Normal brush. My brush is behaving like it's on a layer and it, or on an overlay, and it's not. Because all this should be going on. See how it's going darker when it should be going lighter?
That's weird.
I know, it's super weird. And it's probably something really stupid that I turned on and I can't find what it is.
Can you try changing your brush? See if
Yeah, let's see what that does. Okay, so it's not the brush, it's something else. And my first thought would be that it would be my overlay, that it's, because a lot of times when you pick a brush, you got to remember up here, sometimes it will change to just some random thing and you're like, why is it doing that? It just changes sometimes to an overlay. Okay.
Yeah.
Which is what it looks like it's doing, but it's not. So I'm going to try this then. Okay, I'm doing it over, which I don't really like. You should be doing all this under and it should be fine. But I'm going to paint over this at some point anyway, so it doesn't really matter. And what I'm starting to do is I want to light up this side. And also, I want to light up the plateaus here, these. And what I usually do is I build this up under the line work for a while. And then my last pass, and you'll see it in the video, I go over the line. I start obliterating the line. So I'm just kind of jumping to that part a little bit. Now, another thing I like to do in here, and I don't really have it in my photo reference. So see how we're starting to build the lighting?
Yeah. Are you just using a lighter orange?
Yeah, I just went to a lighter orange.
Okay. It looks
I sampled the same color and just went to a lighter version.
Okay.
But I got to spread it around so it feels sort of natural. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then like here, it's not getting as much light, but I want it to have some, and it can start to dip off out. Like this is behind something, so I don't know how much it would get. Maybe a little back there. That's kind of nice. And then another thing I like to do is I like to go in here and go, maybe find me a nice purpley color. I'm going to put this now. Again, all this I do usually under the drawing. I don't know what's going on with that layer. Actually, maybe it is the layer. No, I don't know where it is. And what I'd be doing is this would be, as I start to, I've sort of set up the undervalues and all the color underneath like I'm doing right now. It's sort of like setting up the washes. Then I'd go to above the line layer and start eliminating the line. And I can let some of it live. And you know, so what I'm trying to get to here is sort of a painterly look, right?
Right.
Oops. So let's see if this works. So I'm on this layer. Let's get on this layer. Let's do it over here. So I'm going to come in here. I'm going to cool off some of this stuff.
You know, Mike, I'm wondering if maybe your template copy,
Yeah.
if it's causing the layers underneath to be darker.
No, it's not on. So
That
to your
one?
point, if I turn that on, yeah, it would be.
No, that one, because it's, oh, maybe, I don't know.
No,
Never mind.
I've done this a million times. It's just I've just
Yeah.
got something turned on or something
That's weird.
that I don't have time to go through in a demo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to start getting some nice purpley cools in here. Does that make sense? Now, again, I'm usually doing this underneath, so I don't have to fiddle with it that much. Oops, I'm on the wrong layer. No wonder. Oh, no. Oh, there you go. So I'll see again if I can find something that lays over nicer. That'll sort of help. Screen's not bad. Now I'm going to go in here and soften edges because really what I'm creating here is just a bunch of washes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Then I'm going to go a little more of that, like maybe over here. I'm just sort of thinking about the shadow values a little bit, but I'll kind of knock it around. If you ever look at a canyon like this, there's a lot of cools in it usually. You know, sometimes the lighting will just be really super hot and it just won't do as much of this, but this is my world, so I get to do whatever I want. So let's go a little more. Then I'm going to come back in here. I can probably put a little here, but I'm going to purple this up a little more. Let's see how saturated I can go. That's kind of cool. And hopefully you're noticing, I mean, it's pretty simple when you've got something already holding all the line, all the structure together to go in and just start washing color in here and just thinking about it and making it work, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Look, I'm going to go back here and do a little bit back there. And I like how hot that is because it's going to disappear a little bit when I sort of rub it out. That's kind of nice. A little too much, but that's okay. I can always knock it down. And it probably won't be once I go back into the foreground. So I'm going to go back here. Let's turn this off for a second. Right. Somebody murdering a child there?
Yeah, it is me. I'm sorry about that.
We need the sacrifice for our youth.
Oh, good. Yeah, I am a big believer in that. So now I'm going back over again. And I'm starting to pop a little more of these warms because now I've got something to react to here. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, another thing I'm looking at, I'm going, well, maybe I'm going to take this Let me find it. Or I'll just grab this. Like what's bugging me now. It's going to bug me even more because I'm going to keep repeating the shape. Now, what I usually do, like I said, with this kind of thing is I try to that's weird. Hang on. Oh, that's why. Like maybe this one I can trick to look a little taller. That's not too bad. I'm going to combine these two. Pull them down here somewhere. That's too much. And these guys. So I'm going to have to give this its own layer. Foreground color. And again, overlay. Oops. This should be overlay. So that's not too bad. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because what I'm trying to do here is create a little sense of foreground, middle ground, background. So let's go in here now and let's look at this reference. See if anything's good in here. So I'm looking at this cloud reference, okay? And what I tend to do with clouds, it's sort of the same thing I do with fire or anything. Hang on. Okay, there it is. Just gonna see if I can sample a color that makes sense here. Let's go to this one. And a lot of times these just get me started. They don't really do much else. And then I'm going to come back here, create a cloud layer. And I'm going to start off. I usually just do it as sort of 3 values. That's not dark enough. So I'm going to have to go. I'm going to go here. Let's see if I can go a little. It's kind of greenish. I actually want it to be a little more warm, I think. That's better. You know, and you can look at reference for value, shading, shape, sorry, and for everything else if you want. Grab another value. And I might go a little more neutral with that, I think. Now I'm going to start a little bit. I like to use the Impressionistic Blender for this. Start thinking about my edges and start creating some edges here. And again, I don't want everything the same. So I got to be careful of that. Jordan, this is something I was going to tell you about because I was going to show you on the clouds you had on yours. So this is basically what I was going to show you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Where'd Jordan go?
I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. And then a little bit of, what you don't want your clouds to look like are cotton balls. I see that all the time. Okay. They just look like cotton balls. And it's like, they don't look like cotton balls. Now, normally we charter a plane and we go up and look at clouds. And then I think I can go pretty strong here. Oops. Now, usually the bottom will be more gray and the top will be whiter and all that. I could build some big thunderheads here. Sometimes the thunderheads will just be really bright, man. I could even pull this down, like there's some rain coming down from here. You see that?
Yeah, it's so pretty to see in real, like outside nature too.
So maybe it's getting a little thing. And then I can go these clouds. Do I go, am I cool with that color scheme, or do I go, you know, try some different
Ooh, I like that.
with this warm one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that too. That's a little more standard right there. Well, maybe there. You know, so I can just play around with it and start to get, like, if I go a little warmer like that, then I might go, okay, well, that's fine. And I'm always thinking about the shape from a balance perspective, getting it balanced off. And then I also might go, maybe, so maybe I want to obliterate a few edges. I could come back in here and go, let's try hard dapple or pebbled blend. That's kind of cool. And I could dissipate them a little bit and get a little bit of that kind of watercolor edge. That's too much, but I could just do it here and there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes, or I might even go, like, I like this little part in here, and then just hit it here and there with a different edge, and I get a nice, you know, it needs something out here in the middle, and maybe I'll just go back to some of this and go a little lighter. Oops, that's weird. There it is. And go back to wherever that is. There it is. And maybe go a little heavier on that back there. You know, just keep building. And then I might even go down here and really get a strong light source down here, that really pinky light source. I'd probably knock that down a little, even though I kind of like it. A little. Get a little, really, whatever you call it, light down towards that horizon. That's good. And then I'm going to come back up here. Maybe I'll dull out some of this, but still go lighter. Yeah, okay. Maybe this. Or maybe here. Gotta get a little of that lighting on here, but I want this one to be a little more in shadow. Now I'm starting to kind of go in again and sort of, it's okay if some of these lines show, but I can get rid of some of them. Then up here could get really bright. Let's go even brighter or lighter. That'll pull a little of that forward. I could even go in here and I could go in here. You know, I could go in here and just sort of indicate people here. You don't have to do that. I could put somebody on horseback there. You know, looking out over the thing.
How'd they get up there?
Well, then I'd go, let's do this.
UFO?
See how entertainment people always go to UFOs? They have their hiking ropes.
Oh.
Then I'd have to put a little more gear here, like they have their backpacks and got up here.
And then they can't get down, Jordan. They're stuck.
Surprisingly, they climb pretty well. And I think they, well, I don't know. You know, I've never seen anyone, I never heard of any of them getting down, but there's like grass on some of those mesas.
That's right.
I've seen videos where they actually have to bring like helicopters and stuff to bring down the cows.
Oh, wow, that's crazy.
It's great, yeah.
So now what I do, it's a series of, and what I'm really looking for here a lot of the times, usually I'm doing this underneath the drawing, which kind of bums me out. I can't do it for some reason. Is I'm looking for other, I'm going to knock some of this down. So I'm going to put my eraser really low opacity and just knock some of this down. It's a little too purpley. Could even maybe take some of this sky. Sometimes I just think of it as when I'm mixing paint somewhere, it's a little cloudy. So maybe I'll take this. Where is it? Maybe I'll take this down a little bit. Like that. And I just keep going and building. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna try this. Hang on, one more thing. And the reason I'm only taking it this far is because it's in the video, so I don't want to repeat myself. Which I will put up right after here. And I'll put up your precious drawing, Irene.
You know what? I tried to look for it and I can't find it on Google.
I couldn't re-find it either. I was lucky. I just found it in, because I told you my I lost a drive.
Yeah. It was at school, right? You said you lost it at school?
No, I dropped it here. It's here. Oh, that's kind of cool. I like that. Look at that.
I like that.
That's nice. Okay, so now what I'm trying to find is a little more. Okay, so what I just did is because sometimes you have to go and find it. And because I can't do it underneath the drawing, I'm just doing it over on another overlay. So it's just seen through the drawing and kissing it with this color. Right?
Yeah.
So now I go, I like that. So now I want a little more of that.
You dropped it at your house?
Yeah, I got an external drive, a big one, a 10 terabyte.
Yeah.
And it, now I'm going to do another thing here. I'm going to go into my sponge tool right here. It's on saturate. I'm going to put it on desaturate. And I want to desaturate that part a little bit because it was just a little strong. But I'm going to keep a little of that cool. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's cool.
And then I'm also looking at this and going, this needs to continue down here probably. So it's a little better. Now, another thing I could do here, I could come through here and say that this canyon has a river going through it. It's too bright, so it's not going to reflect that brightly. I'm going to go back to here. Still a little bright. I'm going to break up this edge a little too, because it wouldn't be that perfect. And if I had two of these together, I could make a river running through that whole canyon. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I could take some of this here, extend this dark down in here. Start to build a little more of that mountain. Now, you don't have to go through all this painterly stuff. I'm really just interested in the coloring part. But I just want you to see how you can just start to invent. Yeah?
Yeah.
So see how that's starting to get a streamy look?
Yeah.
I don't mean streaming on Netflix. Irene.
A heart, a heart, a heart.
That was actually just a generational swipe.
I felt it.
Good. Now I'm going to put a couple of hits like that's reflecting from the sky in there, and I could probably darken it up a little bit. It's still a little too bright, so on and so forth, right? Let's look at this. For some reason, it doesn't want to let me. Let's do this. I'm going to take this shape, and then I'm going to go here, and then I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to a much more desaturated blue. Pop it into that shape. And then again, see if I can find something that'll let me knock it down a little bit. So it's up here. It's probably there. I could just dial it in a little better. And then I have to paint over it a little bit. I mean, it's all about layers if you guys aren't seeing that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's all about layering ideas over ideas. And I could start to put that. And then, you know, I just take it to finish. I don't want to go any further because you're going to have to watch the video. And it's basically this. But except that I did a more expansive view. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you see how fast you can start to get a painterly look, right?
Mm-hmm.
The goal here for me is to start to go not knowing where the line and the color, like if a layperson looks at this, if I finished it out, they're just going to think it's a painting, right?
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, it's not that different. We're going to do a different version of it. Hang on, what happened? No. We're going to do a different version of it on Wednesday. You know, just getting this very painterly look. One thing that I see all the time in, like, again, most of the entertainment classes, it's sort of a line and then a fill, a line, a fill, line, a fill. And they'll put a little bit of gradients and things in there. And that's fine sometimes, but sometimes it's just like, it doesn't look that good sometimes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I always go to painted, you know what I mean? Like, stop doing this same thing. And sometimes really that is fine. I'm not saying it's not fine, But it's like, if you look at like this, and yes, Irene, I know I'm gonna have to share my screen. I'm preempting all your snarky comments here.
It makes the class entertaining. What can I say?
At my expense.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's the best kind of expense.
That probably makes it even better. Why can I never remember this girl's name?
It's that spice.
Oh, I know what it is. Here we go. I think this girl's great. Right? Oops.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I was just looking at her stuff. Celine Kim.
I mean, a lot of people just do line like this and then wash. It's like, you ain't competing with this if you're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
You got to go to paint, man. And a good way to paint is sort of what we're doing, especially in Photoshop, where you're kind of starting behind it. You're always holding the line drawing. And then you start doing, you know, once you build that undercolor, then you go up on top of it and start hitting highlights and wiping out some of the line and kind of painting between the line, leaving a little in line. And then it starts getting, and then it just all of a sudden it's a painting. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not that different. I'm doing that right now in my sketchbook, where I start off with a full value drawing and then I layer acrylic. I wash acrylic over the whole thing in each area, just a base acrylic. And then I put a wash of purple, muted purple, gray, pure purple watercolor. And I get a kneaded eraser, wet it a little bit and start pulling out the warms again. And now bang, I got an instant warm cool to start, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not that much different than that. So there's equivalence in here. That's cool. Look how painterly that is.
You know, it's so
And then look how
nice.
tight she gets here when she's describing things. So here's sort of a line idea here, and that's fine, you know. I love her shots. She's really good at staging.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in under somebody else's hands, this could be a really boring little shot, but it's a really cool shot. Look at that down shot with all that light spilling out. Really uses this one. I saw when I was over at Art Center. That's how I found out about it. I was like, man, that's great. Look how she uplit her, right?
Yeah.
With these stage lights. Also, notice that there's a big arrow cone where everything's sort of going right to her, and she's the maximum value also, right?
Mm-hmm. That composition's amazing.
Yeah, your eye goes right where she wants it to. And then look at this warm stuff up here, shifts into this cools down here. That's a really nice use of warm cool, and it feels real, natural, right?
Yeah.
And then she put everybody into warmth down here. Why? Because the musicians down here, you can see it right here. They have lights on their sheet music. And then she gives you a big blast of cool right there, which is perfect. She didn't overdo it. Could just be a little stage lighting back there, right?
Yeah.
And then look, this kind of thing where you go into full paint like that, you can do that. Look at that. That's great. You can do that with your character stuff or whatever. Environments, character. Like that's another thing with environment. It's always line and then a fill. And it always is like, I get that they're just learning, but it's like, then bring that into here. And then let's take it to make it look like full paint like this, right?
Mm-hmm.
So actually, if anybody has something like that where they finished out something like an environmental, maybe bring it in here, okay? Like send it to me so I can use it as a demo. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at these pinks and the flesh tones down here.
Mike, when you do, let's say like a layout portfolio, do you usually look at the ones that are colored, or do you care if it's just black and white?
I wasn't looking necessarily at that. People would have that stuff in their portfolio and because it shows a range.
Yeah.
Well, especially like if you're looking at people's portfolios, Imagineering, which I don't know if I was looking at portfolios there, but I saw them. Okay, you're saying, is it okay if it's all line based?
not line based, but like if it's like black, whites, and grays, you know, monochromatic.
You can have that in there, but I think the way that would be placed in there is that I would have some of my early ideation sketches and then sort of moving into the more, you know, development of a couple of those, and then maybe those a little bigger and a little more finished, and then some of those might just go into black and white value studies, right?
Yeah,
But at some point I'm going to see, where did this end up?
I see. Okay.
Okay. And that's, I always say that, and when I was looking at portfolios, one of the best things you could do is show me process.
Yeah.
Show me those great, and man, if I get hooked on the thumbnails, if I look to see your thumbnails, I go, God, these thumbnails are cool. You got me hooked. And then I go, wow, look at the development. Boom. Then you turn the page and here's the finished, you know, it looks like this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But why that process is important is if I see this, let's say this, I mean, I could tell this person in paint, obviously, but and then maybe this, maybe, nah, that's not a good example. Let's just stay with environment. Like this, like maybe I turn the page and I get this, or this, or this, you know, that's where it ended up. It's thumbnail, blah, blah. Because now what you're showing me is if I get a portfolio full of all these slick digital renderings, then I go, my brain goes to like, how long did you spend on this portfolio?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then I go, you might have spent 2 years on this. And then when I hire you, and then you're like taking forever to make that painting. And then I'm looking at the drawings going, these drawings aren't even that good. You're not good at ideation sketching. You're not good at the 400 drawings you're going to do before you ever do this paint, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that ideation process is incredibly important, because if you don't design something and develop it and polish it, then give me this finished look, it doesn't matter, because you're just polishing a turd, right?
Right.
And you can't do that. It's got to be strong. That's what I keep telling everybody, man. It's like design, 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 design. And paint to me is like, it kind of enters a different area, but it's also design. This is totally design, correct?
Mm-hmm.
This is an expression of a design idea. That's what it lives for. That's it. And what's happening is that a lot of people, younger people now, are looking at this and going, oh, this is like, you know, it's like book illustration. It's like children's book. It's like, no, it isn't. It's a totally different thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This one, in her case, some of her stuff could live sort of in an illustrative sort of sense. Like, I don't think this or any of these or yeah, that or that, it doesn't feel like a book illustration. It feels like entertainment design. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that's fine, because this is how you want to work in entertainment design. What you're trying to do is express an idea, whether that idea is as a product or a movie or a theme park or a whatever, right? A collectible, whatever. That's sort of how you work, because you need to work fast. You need to work very clear. You need to develop all the things like lighting and all that kind of stuff. So the reason I'm always pushing, like, hey, knock in this little purple in the canyon and all that, got to learn how to shift these colors around from a temperature perspective. Otherwise, everything just sort of stays in that amateur zone. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, this little idea back here, you know, and again, you're setting up your lighting as you're drawing or whatever, as you're designing, you're going, oh, I'll put footlights and I'll uplight her. And yeah, the orchestra's down here and there'll be a little warm light down here. That means I can throw that whole audience into like warmth. And just maybe one big wash of color, and I'll hit a couple of spots, and then, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But you're designing all that as you're thinking of lighting, and everything starts right off the bat, right?
Yeah.
How can I light this? How can I justify doing some really cool lighting? Or how can I, you know, maybe I'm just doing very subtle lighting in this scene where it's just like whoever it was that did that sort of subtle, comic book thing, you know, maybe it's something like that, you know, where it's much more subtle. How do I handle that and still make it interesting, right?
Right.
Okay, so everybody understands what we're doing, yeah?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try and do it right now. I'll try and get the Zoom meeting up. I have to render the class video, but you're not going to need the class video for this because I'm going to give you the other one. I don't even know if I need to put up the video. Well, maybe I do. But I'm going to give you the process of this. Yeah.
Right.
And I'm going to do it right now. That way you guys have it right away. And then I'll I'll get the video up there as soon as I can edit it and export it. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
But I'll put up the image, the process video, and our Zoom meeting, and then and the folder probably. And then the class video will go up when it's rendered. Okay.
Okay.
Perfect.
All right.
For Wednesday. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I have a question. It's a little bit going to the basic related with your recommendation from to keep the volume of the returning, for example, for the canyon, that example, how to keep the volume like up to
in the original
yeah, basically the idea to
the values.
Yeah, exactly, to keep to don't get the image so flat, you know.
You're keeping the values throughout the thing. You're basically glazing over and under it.
Okay, getting the original.
And then as I sort of worked, and this is how you work in traditional paint, by the way. If I go out and paint with acrylic or oil, any opaque media, I'm starting off with washy. That's what you're doing, washy drawings or washy color. And then I'm going a little more opaque and a little more opaque. And how you're doing that here is you're sort of, at some point I'll jump over, I'll build all that base underwash, and then I'll jump over the drawing, never touch the drawing. And I might start glazing some color over a little bit. And then I start going in and painting like full value, full opacity over and around things. And I'm painting over it. And I'm starting to paint out the drawing just like you would have. And I let some of the drawing live in this case, because after it's all tinted and everything, it starts getting very, it's pretty hard to discern that it's not just a painting anymore, because you've put so much color and everything over all that, because that's not a linear drawing. It's got a lot of tone. So that stuff can live in there, but it's got to, so some of it gets obscured, some of it, and my lightest hits and all that thing are on the above the drawing layer, and I'm going with full opacity and starting to paint in and around and pop that forward. And what's really smart that I forgot to do in here is at that last pass, you might want to find a really good, like, brush strokey, fat, oily looking brush. So you start to get brush work. Does that make sense?
Great. Yeah. Thank you.
For sure. At the end, you want to get some brush work. So
yeah,
those brushes I gave you, go find one or two that you really like that lay down like a nice fat, oily kind of texture. And also I can go over all this stuff with those oilier brushes, and I can start to create more texture over it and obliterating things and using color and texture at the same time, and start to build it up where it looks like a nice fat oil painting. Make sense?
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much.
But don't ever touch your line drawing. That's locked.
Right. Okay.
Multiply and it's locked, and you start working under it, and then later on you work over it. Okay.
Perfect. I appreciate
it. On Wednesday, what I want to go over is a full Grasa technique, and I'll give you another image for that too.
Thank you. Great. Thank you so much.
All right, you guys, I'm gonna let you go.
Professor, I had just a quick question about the TED stuff.
Yeah, don't ignore that.
Okay.
What I want you guys to do, and I think I put it up in the announcement, because I put an announcement up, said ignore that. And I also said, but go to this website and just take a look at the industry map. And there's overlays you can do on transportation, rent, prices, clusters of industry, whatever industry you're going into. I'm on this committee to try and help them implement this. And you can see how they implemented it in a completely ham-fisted, stupid way, in my opinion. It's like, I import this shell or this module into my canvas, and it obliterated half of my, it just dropped all these assignments in all my classes. So everybody's like, I just got like 16 assignments. What is this? I don't even know what this is. So that's why I put the announcement up. And also, I can't give people quizzes. That just seems ridiculous to me. And when I looked at the quizzes, I'm like, these quizzes, because we're always talking about career stuff in all my classes. My conversation in my classes is already so far past all this discussion in here. It feels very rudimentary, but I do think the industry map has a lot of value. And how I've been using it, because I have to have these committee meetings once in a while on it. And I go, I'm not using any of that stuff. I think it's obnoxious the way you guys set it up and just threw it into my canvas. It's bullshit. And then also, I go, it's a great discussion tool, because then I have people come in and they go, because, a lot of people haven't lived outside the house or whatever. And they're like, a lot of our industry's clustered in Burbank, and they go, holy crap, the rents in Burbank are insane. So you go, this gets into a discussion around, start to think about the logistics of a career. Okay. Because you're probably not going to go right out of college and be making a 6-figure salary. You might do pretty good, but then you're going, holy crap, an apartment in, especially right now in Burbank, is probably, God knows what it is, $4,000 a month, $4,500, who knows? So then, you can look at that industry map and then go, okay, where am I still in a, decent range of where I might want to work, but the property values drop off here, and it's not a sketchy, horrible area, and you can kind of figure those out. There's a lot of them. And then you go, okay, where's our transportation hub here? So then I could find an apartment or something near a train station that takes me to work, which is really nice, because then you can just walk to work. And I used to take my sketchbook, get the newspaper, get some coffee. I rode my bike, and then take my bike onto the train right out to Santa Monica or El Segundo. Then I'd do a 10-mile bike ride to work. And I'd always have it planned out where I didn't have to race to get to work, because I don't want to get to work all sweaty and stuff. Just a casual bike ride. I'd ride along Marina del Rey, along Venice Beach. And it was really nice. By the time I got to work, I was really ready to work. I was really awake. And then I do the same thing back. So I was getting a 25-mile bike ride every day, which was really cool. And then if I didn't feel like doing the bike ride, there's an express bus that went right down Lincoln, and it was great. It just went straight down and didn't stop a million times. And I really like that, because I could sit on the bus. I just filled up sketchbooks of people on the bus or on the train. But you got to figure out, but it gets into this discussion in my class around the logistics of a career, right? Which I think is a valuable discussion. Also, look at how much it costs, because the kids always go, I get kids all the time. It's a generational thing. And now they're going, I go, how come you don't have a car? No, I don't need a car. And why don't you need a car? Oh, you take Uber all the time, even though you tell me you're broke. And you live your whole life in a 3-mile ecosystem ratio of where you live, which I think personally, I don't think young people should be staying in a 3-mile ecosystem. I think you should be exploring the world. But, and then they go, I don't need a car, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you don't need a car because you're living at home. You're not paying rent. Mom does your laundry. Mom does all the cooking and food. And I'm not knocking this. It just is what it is. And so on and so forth. And it's like, you haven't even gotten into the thinking yet of when you move out, every single thing you touch, you pay for. You know what I mean? You turn on that spigot, you're paying for it. Your toothbrush, your toothpaste, those cookies, everything that you take for granted as a kid, and then they haven't really looked at rent prices. So that's a big slap in the face. And then they go, okay, I'm going to freelance. That starts another conversation. You're going to freelance? That's cool. You better have a lot of hustle. And, certain students, I go, you don't have hustle. You are not going to have a freelance career. Forget it. Probably not going to have a career at all if you don't have hustle, period. But if you're going to freelance, okay, now it's the next question. Okay, you're a freelancer. You don't have health benefits now. So how are you going to do that? Well, that means you have to make a certain amount of money now to put aside for the health benefit. It's a big, long, thinking of career logistics. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that's a really good conversation to have. Taylor, does that make sense?
Yeah,
that makes sense.
So I'd like you guys to go look at it and just take a look at it and go, you know what they should put on here? They should put this, or they should put that. Hey, how come there's not enough? I don't know.
I hate the UX UI. I hate how they made it. When I scroll, it's so annoying. I hate it. Because when you scroll, it you totally lose everything that's it jumps from one subject to another, which is fine. But when you get to the map section, it's difficult, because if you try and scroll, it'll minimize, make the map smaller or larger instead of actually scrolling down.
Oh, so you're not just scrolling, it's like going smaller, doing some weird thing.
Yeah. And then if you're going to make it so that it's scroll accessible, at least have it so that the icons and stuff are a little bit smaller, for the reading. So that way you can see what's above and below.
Well, to me, it should just be, you should be able to just grab the screen like Google Map or whatever and just move it around.
That would be amazing.
I didn't know it did that. So let me look at it. I didn't know it did that. That's a good comment. Yeah, it's really weird when you get into these things, because a lot of these people haven't really worked in the industry or anything. You know, I think it's pretty well
Yeah.
done, but it's like the conversations around it. I was telling my girlfriend this. I go into this meeting and I basically told them what I just told you, what the discussions coming out of it are and how I think they're valuable. And everybody acts like you're a total genius. And it's like, this isn't genius. It's common sense. You guys should know this. You know what I mean? You guys should know that probably implementing this through 45 quizzes probably isn't the best approach. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And that probably this is a really good. Now, if you have been in academia your whole career, it's hard for you to talk about what I'm talking about because you haven't done it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So my next thing is you really have to educate the teachers, because I think this is a good tool to talk about career logistics, you know, and I think most people don't think about career. I didn't, you know what I mean?
No.
I mean, I never even heard that term. And it's like, you do go, well, where am I going to be living? When I first got out of school, I was working Imagineering in Glendale. I mean, what the hell is you know what a house probably costs in Glendale now, or an apartment?
It's too much.
Oh, it's probably insane. It's insane. Like I got to get a bunch of work done in my house. I'm going to Airbnb it. I can make like a ton of money off that house. You know what I mean? I could probably have my mortgage paid for in like half the time, you know?
Yeah.
Just renting it out because I'm living over here anyway, you know, but I got to get a bunch of work done. But as soon as I do that, I'm Airbnb-ing that thing or something, you know, probably Airbnb, because this has become an Airbnb area up here. But anyway, and just in general, I think you guys should be thinking. I also think it's good to think about this because it starts putting your brain into a more professional thought process. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of I don't know if you guys feel like this, when I went back to school or whatever, where I was just going, is this all crazy? Like, am I going to have a career in this? Is this nuts? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Am I really doing it? Am I really doing this? Like, I don't know if everybody else thinks like that, but I think if you start to get more into a mindset of like, here's my plan, here's what I'm doing. If the industry's clustered there, I'll live there, blah, 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 blah. Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure as hell not buying a house right now because it's all inflated.
It's insane.
It's insanely inflated.
Yeah.
Like, I think I could probably, my girlfriend was just telling me, I could probably get 100,000 over what my house is worth right now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is like, and then I go, because she always is like, well, why don't you sell it? It's like, because if this all goes south, I want my house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't really feel like being homeless because my relationship went south. I don't like relying on anybody that way.
I have a question for you really quick before you leave.
Okay.
If I wanted to give you one of my environments to work on, do you want me to just email you or?
Yeah, you could just email it to me. I'd really appreciate that if it's like sort of a finished, like I know they do a sort of a Tudor village and stuff like that in there.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna give you because I worked with Phil. But did you want like just the line art, or did you want like the monochromatic stuff? The
Send
shading.
me both.
Okay.
Like send me a decent size of the line art so I can work over that.
Okay.
And I'll probably,
or
huh?
You want PSD or JPEG?
Well, if the line layer is just a line layer, a PSD's or a JPEG's fine.
Okay.
And then then the tonal ones, JPEG should be fine.
Okay, sounds good.
Because I'll just turn it into a PSD when I get it. But I might even just I might just sit here and riff on it and just capture the whole thing, and then I can speak to it, and then I can put it up.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, because I really think that would be. I thought about this because I like classes to overspill each other and go, okay, that's cool. You learned all that stuff in there. But now let's take this into a painterly thinking. You know?
Yeah, I think that'll help.
Yeah, it does. And because nobody's doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the problem is that, you know, again, a lot of people are coming at that entertainment design painting and they don't know anything about painting. You know what I mean? They've never painted. Okay.
Yeah.
I see it all the time. I was just watching something online on YouTube and I'm like, this guy doesn't know how to paint. He just knows how to do this tricky entertainment stuff. And I think it's also good just to go, here's another way that you can, you know, add color to this idea or finish to this idea or presentation this idea. And I also look at it too. If you get things, and I know I was competitive when I was in school, and I think and I don't mean douchey competitive, but it just gives you a way to go, if I have a target in there and I want to be the best person in this class, and I go, everybody's doing this line and amateurish line and wash stuff, I'm going to come in here with a full blown thing. It looks like that Celine Kim. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
bam, it elevates me in that class. And I go, cool, I kicked ass in here. Now I'm going to go to the next class and kick ass. And these kind of things give you tools to do that. But beyond that, they just give you really good, solid, hopefully, painting concept stuff.
Yeah. I
And
appreciate
I like
this,
taking
yeah.
it from one class to another because I think it's really, because what Phil's doing there is great. But now let's take this into a painting thing, because now I have a good drawing and everything to work over. If I get a good drawing to work over, that's half the battle. You know?
Hopefully it's good.
I see a lot of good ones come out there. You know? I see a lot of
Yeah.
good ones come out there. But now we can like loosen it up and make it look cool and, you know, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'll let you guys go. Finish this up by Wednesday so we can move on to the next part.
Okay. Sounds
Which
good.
I think
Thank
I have a
you.
process video already for that too. So
Yeah.
I'll let you guys go. And I'll put this stuff up real quick.
All right. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, you
See
guys.
ya.
Bye.
By the way, that was really good stuff. That comic book stuff was really good stuff.
Yeah, we all did good.
That's right.
All right.
Okay.
Bye.
See you later.